Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host, Chris Tysis, and we are here with an NNN show. It is episode 120, and we're here to talk about Sword and Shield and the debate of the national decks, which this is a difficult subject to talk about because I'm absolutely prepared for dislikes on this video. I think it's one of those situations where if you try to mount any form of defense in Game Freak or the Pokemon Company, people are going to disagree with you and just say we just want all 800 Pokemon in a Pokemon game. So let's sort of try to look at it from the 2 points of views here. So obviously the news has come in that the National Dex has been axed, and meaning that you will not be able to catch all of your Pokemon over the years that you've done with Pokemon Home and the Pokemon Bank. Now, I think what's happened here, and it's a little bit hard to get information, especially when people are translating from Japanese and all that sort of stuff and trying to get down to the basis of it. I think originally they were trying to squeeze as many Pokemon into the game, but it was cut for a number of reasons. Um, and we'll go through some of the reasons why, and we'll go through some of the fans, excuses or solutions that they've come up with, which is some of them are not as feasible as you would think they are. Now, one of the main reasons is unable to support all 800 Pokemon. Saying that, on top of the different forms that the Pokemon have, you're looking at close to 1,000, uh, Pokemon, which is quite a lot to put into a single game. One of the other things is high quality animations, which is also another difficult thing to do. And also the balancing act too of having over 800 Pokemon. Um, there's lots of games that struggle with balancing acts, especially fighting games of 50 to, 80, nearly 80 characters, pushing it with Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Now, imagine instead of 80 fighters, you're dealing with 800, which is a phenomenal amount of characters to deal with, and the battles and attacks and defense and all that sort of pulling the levers and trying to make sure that they're all well and balanced. Now, some of the excuses that the fan base have come up with to, not excuses, but, improvements or solutions that they've come up with is, well, they've already done HD models from the 3DS. They've been reusing assets since Pokemon X and Y. Some of the hackers have said, I think things like Dynamax have changed it where they're like gigantic versions of Pokemon, like Godzilla type sizes, have probably changed it, meaning that they can change things up. There might be other features apart from the battle system when they use these models, such as camping, where you can feed your Pokemon and make it more happy and make it more happy towards you as a trainer, and that helps in your battles. That's probably some of the reasons why they have to go through it and redo all the models again for HD. And also that they want to probably improve things for the Nintendo Switch itself. It's definitely a different system from the 3DS, and it is much more powerful. Um, and it's also dealing with the issues of project management. And in order to do with project management, especially, even doing videos on this YouTube channel, you have to make trade-offs. You have to look at, for example, my channel, what videos can I do? What videos that I have to leave out? And it's the same thing with making a video game. What can we do in this period of time? And what are the things that we can't do? And sometimes the trade-offs are good. Some of them are a little bit heartbreaking, and you have to go, well, we just can't do that. We just don't have enough time. Some of the other solutions that the fan base has come up with is, why don't you just hire more people? That would increase to the cost of Pokemon. Yes, we know Pokemon is the biggest franchise in the world, and it makes a bajillion amounts of money. But if you get people who are outsourced, different devs that come in, um, they might not. they might not know the Pokemon series very well. You might get a different flavor when you get that game. And that might be an issue too. People who are outsourced coming in, and they might add to the mixing pot, and the taste in the end might taste a little bit off or a little bit strange. So that might not be an option for Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. Um, One of the other issues too is, or one of the other suggestions that the fan base has come up with is, why don't you just delay the game? Why don't you just delay it? The problem is Pokemon is a very well slicked oil machine in terms of it's something that is particularly hard to delay because of not because of the games themselves, but of other parts of the Pokemon Company, uh, timeline. The Pokemon TV show will start appearing with Sword and Shield episodes, which would be weird to have Sword and Shield episodes if you can't actually buy the new games. That's the whole point. The TV show promotes the games and the games promotes the TV show. And they've all got to sort of start at the same time. The other one is the trading card game, having Sword and Shield type Pokemon in there, but for some reason you can't get the video games. They want to start them off all at the same time, so they all promote each other. The TV show promotes the trading card games and the video games, and the video games promotes the TV show. It's all sort of synced in at the same time. It's a very well-oiled machine, and that's probably why that they can't delay it. And they can't, delay the TV show or the trading card games for a few months because that would be lost revenue and lost money. That would be very hard to do for the Pokemon Company. Now, one of the other things that I believe Pokemon Sword and Shield can't be delayed is because Animal Crossing New Horizons has been delayed until March next year. So, and you look at that last quarter, and it's very interesting because Nintendo recently put out an image of all the games that's coming out. And I think in previous years that they used to do it by month, and they're doing it by quarter because even they know the last quarter, that October, November, December, is looking a bit thin. Interesting enough, the third quarter is looking really packed. A lot of great games coming out. I'm just going to go to my little Facebook group and have a look at some of the games that's coming out. So, for the third quarter, you've got the Marvel game coming out, Fire Emblem, Zelda's Link Awakening. You have Dragon Quest Builders 2. You have Elder Scrolls Blades. Then for the fourth quarter, it looks a little bit lean. Yes, there's Luke Ailey sequel there. There is Luigi's Mansion that will help. You've got Mario and Sonic game, Just Dance 2020. But if you look at that list, which game is the one that's going to sell the most? And that's Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you delayed that, there would be nothing really to drive the sales at the end of the year. If you delayed both Pokemon and Animal Crossing, it's going to suck. And that's going to be a very tough thing for Nintendo to try to, promote the Nintendo Switch and pushing out sales. Now, there's some of the rebuttals to the fan base about these delays. Now, maybe Pokemon Home can be your natural Pokedex in terms of they can change it up and they can show off all the Pokemon that you've caught, and that's the thing that you show off. And I can understand people who've been collecting their collections for so long getting really, really disappointed. And personally myself, um, I'm disappointed that there might be some Pokemon that I will not be able to play, but I haven't tried to catch them all since probably the third generation because there's so many Pokemon. You got to wait for mythical Pokemon. You got to try to catch the legendaries, and the job has become harder and harder. Now, I think for the majority of Pokemon, the majority of people who buy Pokemon, I think, buy it to um, to go through the storyline and some of the post-content stuff, and they go, well, that's the game done for me, and that's absolutely fine. And I think it's in a smaller minority group for those who play competitive play, to complete the Pokedex and find all your shiny Pokemon and things like that. So I can understand the disappointments there. But you also got to understand that the people who make these games are real people. Trying to balance 800 characters is absolutely insane. I don't know how they actually do it. And the task of doing that is very, very hard. Now, all the rebuttals that the fan base has said, some of them are valid, some of it's just really unrealistic from a work point of view. And imagine Pokemon in 20 years' time. You're pushing towards 2,000 Pokemon, and the fan base is still expecting you to make 2,000 Pokemon in 4K or even 8K graphics. That would be an immensely hard job to do, and the cost of Pokemon, probably the cost of buying the game could even rise because of that. Now, the devs of Game Freak have said that they will not be adding any new Pokemon after its release. I wouldn't mind if they did that, but that's up to them. They may be working on other Pokemon games at the same time, or they'll be jumping straight into maybe the next Let's Go game, or some other projects that they will be doing. For me personally, and I think overall, I don't think this is the worst thing to happen. Now, some people may say, "Well, we don't need the Dynamax, and we can get rid of that and just have all the Pokemon in." And part of me that sort of agrees with that. I find that that's a bit of a gimmick in the game, but Pokemon's always had a bit of a gimmick. The Mega Evolutions and all that sort of stuff, and even camping and making your Pokemon happy and giving them a pat and a rub down isn't really essentially important to the overall goals of Pokemon, which is catching, battling them, and completing your Pokedex. So this is a difficult video to do because there's many different sides of looking at it. But I don't think the sales of Pokemon will be hurt, but I think some old school Pokemon fans will not buy it because of it. So I think if you're a disappointed Pokemon fan, I still think this is going to be a great game. There's still some really cool features that they are adding to it. It's going to be on the Nintendo Switch. You're going to be able to play with at least probably 400, maybe 500 Pokemon, and that's still a huge amount of Pokemon to get through and to catch and to build upon that. But it's going to get harder and harder for them to try to include all the Pokemon in each of these generations, because every generation is another 100 or another 150, and that task is going to be harder and harder. And that's something that I looked at, even when I was younger in generation 2 or 3, and it's like, how many more they're going to make? It's going to be ridiculous when we get to 700, 800. Now, I would joke about that in the late 90s, and here we are 20 years later at 800, and it's becoming to get a serious issue where you just can't include them all. And yes, I'm prepared to see comments just saying, I don't care, I just want all the Pokemon in now. I don't care about if devs need to work 100 hours a week. But that's another video about game crunch and things like that. But I think overall, it's something that we have to live with for the time being. There may be a solution down the road with Pokemon Home or some sort of halfway measure, but I don't think it's going to kill the enjoyment of Pokemon. You're still going to have a lot of fun playing Pokemon, I think. And I think Pikachu will still be quite happy about this new game. So, um, yeah, it's a difficult debate. And it's a difficult thing to sort of talk about because obviously there's going to be a lot of people that's going to probably disagree with me, and people who will be thinking more on the fanboys' point of view, apart from, the business side of this and from the devs' point of view, where we don't want to work them to death. So yeah, it's a tough subject. So that's all I've got to say. I still think Pokemon Sword and Shield will still be a good game, and we shall see what happens in the future with the series. So that is it for me, and I shall see you next time.